Hey everybody. Um, this is Druidic Thought, and my name is Druid Nicholas Decline, founder of the Druid Circle, founder of Druid Order of Blessed Stone and Wood, that is BLEST, Stone and Wood, and founder of Druid University, all to come in the next several years. Um, I guess I want to ask, I want to present a very valid question. And the valid question is, I hear a lot of people say, well, they'll go on, and I know many people that'll say, well, I'm a Druid, Pagan, witch, hedge, shaman. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, wait, can you, rewind that and play that back again? Here's the problem. It's almost like you're in an ice cream shop and you're like, I want one of each flavor, right? Okay. Is there anything wrong in it? No, absolutely not. Do I poke fun of it? Absolutely yes. The reason is because druids are slow. We move slow. We we move slow. We think slow, and we may not get back to something a year or two later, just because we do things in the time that we believe it is the right time of the fates, or the three eyes. So I think that I want to talk about um, this idea of whether or not people are Druid or Pagan. You are going to make your own ID card. All right, let me say that first. You're going to make your own ID card. And when you make your own ID card, you're going to put on, and that's a symbolic card, but you're going to put on that card what you want. You can't go ahead and put everything on that card. I mean, you could if you want, but you run out of room. And I think that this is the problem with what we're encountering right now. One of the things I like to say is that I think it is, even though I disagree, and not wrong in my disagreement, but I would have to and probably be forced to say that if you have monotheistic religions, Christianity, right, Judaism, right, and you have other religions as well that are polytheistic, then I think the umbrella term would be polytheists, not pagans. But then again, there are people who are caught in between because they both believe in many deities or at once. And so they are caught in between monotheism somewhere and polytheism somewhere. And that's called something. We're not going to get into that right now because that's not the purpose of this talk. But the purpose of the talk is to say, can you say that you're both pagan, and can you say that you are a druid? First of all, I want to talk about terms. Pagans, the name itself, was given to us by the Roman Empire, the very group of people that conquered us, well after, many others have always tried to. The word pagan means one thing, and that is that it is a person who is a countryman, a person who is on the countryside. And so as a result of this, there's definitely some sort of connection between the land and the person, right? Okay. But when we talk about this, and I want to give another thing too, and that is the word nuff, and Naofe, nuff. And that word nuff is, actually we believe is a homophone with enough. And so as a result of this, what ends up happening is that it means holy. There was no word saint a long time ago. Saint didn't come into play until much, much, much later. So can you be a pagan and a druid? Okay. So instead, many people will say, well, polytheism is not the umbrella term, and that the umbrella term is pagan. And then underneath of pagan, you have all of these other things, right? I don't really see it like that. And that's me, and that's just because of my reading, and that's just, and and when I talked to when I messaged Tom, and I said to him, I said, listen, I said, you know, I said, am I and I said, I don't identify as a pagan. And he said, well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to identify as a pagan, right? And the reason for that is because pagans, if they were people of the countryside, were a lot different than we were, right? Don't we want to be more like the Druids? Don't we want to be more like those who lived before us? Don't we want to be more like the ancients? Of course we do. And the thing is that if we are going to identify as pagan, then I guess we're going to have to put away our cell phones and throw them in the trash. I guess we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And I guess we'd all have to leave the city, because a pagan was on the farm. They were people of the countryside. That is the word even translated today. People with the last name Pagano are pagans. Pagano. It means person of the countryside. But they won't teach you pagan in school. They'll say it's a person of the countryside. And so rightly it is. A pagan, all it means is a person who respects the land as it is. And as a result of respecting the land, many of us have different ways of respecting it. Some of us see, and like you have the whole idea of the plastic straws, like let's get rid of plastic straws, let's make them paper. Let's turn, not only tear down more trees, but also let's put them in plastic packages. Yeah, that makes a real lot of sense. So there's all of that. But one of the other things about being a pagan is that you would truly have to see the world in pagan eyes. And that would mean that you turn your phone off, you don't get up to an alarm, you get up to the birds and the sun, you go to bed when the moon is clearly out, and daylight has turned to dusk. And so as a result, I think that we need to really focus on this imagery of what it was like to see the world as a pagan. I don't identify as a pagan. First of all, I look out my windows, I see buildings. There's no possible way that I can ever, feel any sort of connection like that. Now, when I go out to the woods, absolutely, I feel that connection, but most importantly, a lot of people get mixed up on who the Druids were. The Druids were the highest caste. They were, even in a sense, above the kings. Above the kings. Above the kings. And that's why many of them could have become a king if they wanted to. Many of them would not have, but there are still some. There is still some literature out there that would claim that one would be a Druid king. But one of the things I also want to say is that if you want to be a Druid, focus on Druidism. That does not mean only read books on the Druids, because then you're going to get indoctrinated in some sort of way. When I say learn about the Druids, you're going to have to go well beyond time and space to learn about these people. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take it's going to take an advanced person to help you learn. It's going to take an advanced person to help you, guide you on your way. And if you have not that advanced person in your life, then you will have to ask the kindred for help and say, and present yourself saying, I am doing this for no other reason but you. I am doing this to benefit you. I am doing this to honor you. I am doing this to praise you. I am doing this to give all glory to you. And when we say things like that, then their attention is there. And you're respectful to them, and you don't use them to, I see so many people using the kindred as their pawns, and I see them and they're taking Odin and they're saying, oh no, he was trans because you're trans. And they're making Angus McCog gay. Saying, no, he was really gay when you're gay. And they're making the Dagda feminist chopping off his stuff when that's exactly what they want to do to us, third and fourth wave witches and soy droids. And so as a result of this, it's like, no, that's not the way it works. We leave them alone. We leave them alive in their stories as they are. Shape-shifting is one thing. Getting surgery to remove your genitals or put one on is not shape-shifting. It's genital mutilation. And so as a result of that, we can't continue to make things or people us. We got to leave them be, leave them rest. Now, can one interpret the kindred as they wish? Certainly. If you want to personally believe that Angus McCog is gay, well, go for it. Doesn't mean he was. And so being a Druid is one, and the Druids were of the white collar class. They were of the conservative class. They were of the very traditional conservative class. They would have been the white collar people of today. And so, no, they were not, blue collar at all. The Druids were the priests, And so if you want to go ahead and identify as a pagan, go right ahead and identify as a pagan. But when I see pagan, and remember, it's all about the picture you see. If you see a picture of a tree, if somebody says to you tree, and you get a picture in your head, and I say that, and that same person says that word tree to somebody else, and they get a picture in their head, you're going to have two different pictures. And what I'm trying to proclaim to you today is that those pictures, those differences make up all the world of difference, and that it is very impossible for me to say that I am a pagan because I am a Druid. I live Druid. I breathe Druid. I feel Druid. I taste Druid. So much so that people are now calling me Druid. People are now calling me Druid. They don't even call me my name anymore. They don't even say Druid in the class decline. They don't call me my real name, Daniel Curcio. You guys know you guys could find me on Facebook. Well, not now because I'm always being banned because of liberals who hate my politics. Well, you know, that's what you get with liberals. They'll yell and scream at you because you're not thinking like them. It's all about intimidation, indoctrination, and disruption and agitation. With them, they can't just simply let people be. They have to, force their agenda. And I don't. I tell you the way it is, and you take with the information what you must. But remember this: if you truly feel you are being called to Druidism, then be called to Druidism. And focus on that. It's I don't know. I know so many people that are like, well, it's the idea of like, jack of all trades, master of none. Focus on Druidism, folks. Focus on Druidism. Why focus on everything else? I mean, you're more than welcome, but focus on what it is that they did. If the Druids were philosophers, then go back to Bronze and Iron Age philosophies. Even Viking Age, if you will, which came after the Iron Age. Somewhat. It's too difficult to talk about in this talk, but that's what I'm talking about. So make sure that you hone in on really focusing on what you're aiming at. And I promise the gods or God of your understanding will reward you. The mysticals, Fae or angels or Fae will greet you, and the ancestors will remind you, and that's really it. So that should be about all. Thank you very much for watching. Gita Awin, blessed be, it all works out. Be it thus, be it thus. And remember that in the end, you're going to be what you want to be. You're going to be you. You're going to be what you craft. I don't care whether you're liberal or conservative. I don't care whether you agree or disagree with me. I'm looking for people, though, who agree with me to join me in my path and to see value in what I have to teach, so that when I see you learn from me and you create something new with that, I can say, wow, and then I can learn back from you. Thank you, everyone.